Hi ladies, I'm Pat, and I wanted to talk to you this morning a little bit about working with your fat triangle paper. You might need a pencil and paper, and you might want to grab the fat triangle paper that we sent you with your background fabric, this one, because we're going to talk about putting this together, and these are some of the batiks that I'm going to be working with. The first thing you need to do is to iron your fabrics. You'll take your contrasting fabric and you'll put it on your ironing board, give it a little spray starch, and I like to mix my own spray starch from the liquid starch that you buy at the grocery store. I use a 3-part water to 1 part starch. It's better, I think it works better than the aerosol can. Of course, it's a lot cheaper. So this works. You're going to give it a spray, you're going to iron your contrasting fabric, then you're going to take your background fabric, put it on top of it, and give it a little spray, iron it. You're going to kind of be ironing them together, and by ironing them together with the starch, they'll kind of grab each other. Then you'll be ready to take your triangle paper, and you'll notice that your paper has both square lines, solid lines and dotted lines. Well, what we're going to do first off is we're going to trim the paper, and it doesn't have to be exact, but you want to trim outside the last solid line. That just gives you a more workable piece of paper to work with. You're going to be stitching on the dotted lines, and you're going to be cutting on the solid lines. You've got instructions on here. If you also need some additional instructions, you also have a free pattern on there. So once you've got your paper trimmed, it's going to look like this. You have stars on your paper. You're going to start at the single star, sew along the dotted line. You'll end up at the double stars. When you're sewing on your paper, you might want to use a little bit larger needle than what you normally use. I normally use a 10 or 11 needle. You might want to use, like I would use most likely a 12 or 14. Also, you want to shorten your stitch length. By shortening your stitch length and using a larger needle, it's going to make it easier for you to tear your paper off. You've got it layered up, and I would suggest you put your contrasting fabric on the bottom, then your background fabric, and of course you're working with everything in fat quarter size, 18 by 22 inches. You're going to put your fat triangle paper on top, and then pin in the areas that you're not going to sew. You don't need a lot of pins because your fabric has been ironed together with the spray starch, and it'll make a nice package for you. It'll look like this, and again, our contrasting fabric is on the bottom, and our background fabric is on top of that with our fat triangle paper pinned on top of that. Once you have it all pinned together, then start sewing. Once you've got it all sewed, you followed all the lines, you're going to trim your paper along the outside solid lines. Once you've trimmed along the outside solid lines, then you'll cut a strip off of the paper, this, and then you'll cut a single square. And this will be what you'll trade with everyone. You'll have 20 of these in a baggie, and you'll have 2 3 by 22 inch strips in the baggie. And we'll be using 2 different fabrics to go in the baggie. And it can be the fabrics that you've used for your fat triangles, or it can be other scrap batik fabrics that you have. The important thing to keep in mind is that we want lots of variations in the baggies, but we're going to be doing another video about cutting your strips and about putting your baggies together. So look for that, but if you have any questions on doing this, then you be sure and email us or give us a call, and we can walk you through how to do it. Just keep in mind, you want your contrasting fabric on the outside. It'll make it easier for you to choose it when you do your baggies. And this is the unit. It's going to be a square, which can then be cut in half, and will give people the half square triangles once they actually get this. But by sending it like this to everyone else, the other thing it does, it guarantees that they have 2 identical units out of the same fabric, so you can then turn that into geese unit. But this is the unit you'll be trading, so don't cut it down any further than this. Thanks.